all doing well today. It is Apex here with another market sector analysis. So today in the markets we had a pretty quiet day overall, as is represented in SPY's almost inside bar candle. Market sectors weren't doing a tremendous amount, but a few individual names, and the Canadian MJ sector was having a pretty significant day, and a couple individual names had some bullish movement early on. I know NVAX had an incredible move at the end of the day. You can see on the 5-minute chart we were making this descending wedge pattern, found a nice base of support, broke out in a bull flag, and then look at this parabolic move to the upside, showing a tremendous amount of strength in this individual name. But overall, for SPY, it was quite quiet. So the main pivot high that the bulls need to break is 385.85, and the pivot low that they need to defend is 368.27. I must say I'm very impressed with the strength that the bulls have had in this V-shaped recovery that we are seeing right now. I did not anticipate that, and with all the hype, euphoria, and hysteria that we saw in the market last week, as well as losing this level set on January 15th and threatening to lose this January 4th level, I was a little bit skeptical and concerned about where we were situated, but the bulls continue to show their resiliency. Just goes to show you the overall strength in this market environment. On the hourly chart, we can see that we were in that clear hourly downtrend. The most likely outcome from this bounce would have been a lower high followed by a higher low. And I did mention in one of the videos that I wouldn't be surprised if the bulls do a complete V shape, because there was another example that I have failed to find yet again. But there was another example a few weeks ago when we had our last rug pull type event where we were in a very similar situation, broke the low, confirmed the hourly downtrend, and V-shaped recovery out of it. So I guess that would be an indication that the weakness in the market is here to stay if we see another harsh rug pull like last week and we don't get that V-shaped recovery on the hourly chart. So that would be very notable for me in the future. But as of right now, with this incredible bounce, the most likely outcome is a higher low. We do see a little bit of topping action going on in this consolidation pattern here. We had a small impulse move to open up the day after a gap up open, bulls bought all that strength. Decent pullback, higher high, but we are seeing a couple of indications on the volume that this might roll over, increasing bear volume, especially going into the new high, and very low bull volume going into that high. So it is a potential for an hourly pullback, which is completely warranted because I do not count this pivot down here as a higher low, but it would just depend on how much strength we see to the upside. We have to keep in mind where we are inside this channel, right around that midpoint section. I know if you guys draw with the channel on any brokerage or platform, it will also have that middle line. Since these are trend lines, you obviously can't see it. So we are probably right around that middle line, which would make sense if we saw a bit of a pullback, maybe fill this gap, something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of weakness going into the end of the week, or if bulls just continue to defy everything I say, then we might just see strength right up to the upper trend line. But we'll just have to wait and see. DXY, so not getting a tremendous amount of strength out of this bull flag breakout. I guess that has to do with how strong the markets and the asset bulls have been, kind of just disregarding and diminishing the conviction that the dollar bulls had in this breakout. So we do see a little bit of upper wick action happening right here. So the main pivot high that the bulls need to break is 91.3, and the pivot low that they need to defend is 90.1. QQQ had a bit of a double top at 330.32, missed that by 2 cents today on the gap up open. So QQQ had a bit of a weak day today. We can zoom in on Apple, kind of see what's going on here. So we had a strong impulse wave up, a deep correction, and now it already looks like we're rolling back over. So that's definitely affecting the QQQ bulls. Facebook, similar situation, although not as weak. Big correction, and now we're looking for that lower high compared to the top pivot here. AMZN had a little mixed reaction to earnings, although they had a good earnings beat. The news about Bezos stepping down is definitely a factor. So we are still in an uptrend here. We see a higher low, higher high, but we do see a lot of bear volume coming in and a very bearish candle to close the day. So we do see a little bit of weakness in the tech sector overall, which would make sense as to why we double topped. RSI is also quite stronger, although that's not technically a divergence. It is notable. But we will see what happens from here. If the bulls do decide to pull back, we do have a lot of room to make a higher low, and then we can hopefully keep that that daily uptrend intact. Zooming in on the hourly chart, so similar to SPY, we just had that hourly downtrend confirmed and right into a V-shaped recovery. So it would make sense that to see SPY pulling back as QQQ gets a little toppy after the double top here. So we would be looking for that hourly higher low, potential gap fill opportunity, and then continuation to the upside. So we'll see what shapes up here. IWM showing a little bit of strength. Again, not quite an inside bar, but close enough to be mindful of the high and low. That's kind of without saying for all the individual sectors after today's price action. So we see a strong impulse wave, a little bit of an extended, I don't know if you could call that a leading fifth or extended fifth wave diagonal. I'm not too familiar with Elliott wave, but it does look like a bit of a rising wedge type pattern here. And then we had a breakdown and bulls bought the dip. So we're making a daily higher low, looking for continuation over 217.91. Bulls ultimately need to defend 204.66, 205 psychological. Zooming in on the hourly chart, we see a little bit more of a defined hourly pullback. So we have that same pattern where we lose the hourly downtrend, but then we V-shape recovery, bit of a stronger pullback, and then we're seeing some continuation higher. So IWM definitely showing off its strength on the hourly chart, although yeah, no, we need to defend this pivot low here of 211.59. If we lose that, then hourly downtrend is confirmed. See some more daily consolidation until we can get above these levels up here. Then we might change that hourly trend, confirm the daily bounce, and continuation higher. I do like how we see a little uptick in bull volume here. So again, keep that high of today, 214.74 on watch for tomorrow. SMH showing a little weakness, lots of correlation to QQQ. Let's take a look at NVDA. So NVDA has a big shooting star candle here, AMD just continuing its weakness. I see a little bit of a wedge forming now that we have some more price action development. Yeah, something like that. So AMD forming up another pattern here. Keep an eye on that, but a little bit of an oblong day today, nothing going on inside bar, so watch the high and low for tomorrow if you're trading AMD. But that's reflected in SMH with a bit of a sour day today. But that was the most likely outcome. So we had a strong impulse wave up. We had a retest of the breakout area, which I was hoping for. And now the most likely outcome was a lower high compared to 246.79. So hopefully we shape it up in a little bit of an equilibrium here and see some continuation to the upside for the bulls. That would be very nice. We do have a lot of bear volume, but that's less of a factor in these market sectors. So bulls ultimately need to defend to 24.93 to 225 psychological to keep this daily uptrend intact, and the possibility of a equilibrium a realistic option for the future. TAN, so showing that strength off the double bottom here at 106.88. Another kind of nothing day overall. I know RUN is at a very nice area here. So we had the previous breakout pivot when we got the RUN breakout. Now retesting, and it just goes to show you the strength of this technical analysis, right? We identify the last pivot in the pattern, we enter on the hourly close above, strong bull volume, we see that significant breakout strength, we pull back and look at where we bounce from. You know, this was such a strong impulse wave that anyone could have thought that we were going to hold maybe this top here, an EMA type play, but we didn't. We just continued to melt down, and the only place we're seeing some sort of strength is right where we previously broke out. So it is very interesting to see the technicals line up like that, and it's very reassuring, especially when that is your primary technique for an entry. But nonetheless, RUN showing a little bit of strength, JKS still in this forever bull flag, like absolutely mental. What's another one? FSLR. So still in this pattern, ENPH. So, I mean, you get the point. Energy stocks, solar stocks are kind of just ranging, and that's reflected with TAN here. So the most likely outcome, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lower high compared to 125.98, maybe change that daily trend and then have our best chance at continuation upwards. But ultimately, the bulls need to defend that 106.88 level and break the 125.98 level to get out of this channel pattern. XLV looking a little bit weak today. So we had a strong break up, failed bull flag break to the upside, and now bulls are a little bit cautious. So from a technical perspective, we can look at the weekly chart, maybe the 2-day chart for a little bit of clarity. So we had a nice impulse wave up, and all we're looking for is a higher low and a higher high. But we also see that we have a bit of a rolling over pattern to this price action right now. So I'm not surprised, or I wasn't surprised that we retested this breakout area after breaking the equilibrium, but I am a little surprised by the overall lack of conviction on this retest. Zooming in on the hourly chart, you can see that we are in a bit of an equilibrium here. So we have this pennant formation. So look for this to break. So this is going to give us the most directional clarity. And the first thing I see off the bat is we have an enormous amount of bear volume. Now again, volume isn't the most important thing when it comes to market sectors. Like I've seen huge upticks in bear volume, and then we see bullish continuation. So it just goes to show you that that's not always the most reliable source, and this is the only type of situation in which it isn't. But I always prefer to see that high bull volume, that high conviction in the pattern, in the technicals, and that is just not apparent to me in this consolidation right now. We see a tremendous amount of bear volume coming in at the end of the day today as we look like we are forming a lower high on the hourly chart, something like that to break it down, retest, and then continue. So we'll see what happens. Bulls ultimately have to be cautious at these levels, but if we can see a break around above some of these pivots like 117 psychological, that would give me the most conviction that we are looking for more upside. If we break this 114.05 level, bulls ultimately need to hold this 111.11 level. So we're all the way back to where we were a month ago. So let's see what happens. XLF showing a little bit of strength today. So it's interesting to note QQQ, SMH, tech sector weakness, XLF strength, XLV weakness, XLF strength. So finally getting some conviction off of this bounce from 28.83. So that's a pivot low that the bulls need to defend ultimately. And the pivot high that they are eyeing right now, somewhat, is 31.62. So we have a strong impulse wave after some consolidation here. We have a very steep pullback, so the most likely outcome is a lower high compared to that 31.62 level, a higher low compared to 28.83, form up an EQ, and then hopefully we can see some upside continuation as bulls reestablish themselves. Something I picked up from the chart guys, shout out to them, was that there's an inverse correlation between XLF and QQQ. So I mentioned it just a few seconds ago, but QQQ had a really down day today, and well, not a really down day, but a notably down day, and XLF had a notably strong day. So that is good to see. So we have an inverse correlation here, so keep an eye on how that shapes up. And again, shout out to the chart guys, doing some great stuff over on their channel and in their community. But yeah, XLF, most likely the outcome is a lower high, looking on the hourly chart here. So we have a nice setup here. So we have a divergence, a bullish divergence between the RSI. Actually, I should just say a bullish RSI divergence here. So we have a low, we have a lower high, excuse me, a lower low with a higher low on the RSI, confirming that divergence, and we see a strong reaction because of it. So we have a nice impulse wave on the hourly chart. We could top out here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of continuation. The RSI is not overbought. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit more conviction, a little bit more continuation, a pullback, and then hopefully that will set, wherever we top out on this hourly chart, that would hopefully set the daily lower high compared to 31.62, and then we could work our way down for a higher low compared to 28.83, and then see that EQ form up. But a very cool play. These are interesting, and some I don't take quite enough advantage of. Impulse down, lower high, lower low, diverging play, huge bounce. Yeah, some 3%. So congrats to the bulls that got in that. And XBI showing a little bit of weakness today, bit of an upper wick, but that makes sense. This has been our strongest sector, bar none. So we've seen impulse wave high, low, higher high. So the pivot high that the bulls need to break is 164.51, today's high. And the pivot low that they need to defend is 148.81, 150 psychological. But overall looking exceptionally good. And VIX, since I was covering this a lot last week, let's take another look. So that bull flag completely failed. This huge increase in price action, shouldn't say price action, in value action, huge increase in value here, just failed to produce anything as per usual. But one of these days, it's not going to be the case. So always stay on your toes. Keep an eye on this trend line. Keep an eye at this pivot high, 41.20. And that pretty much does it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.